94.4 FM Friday Sports Show. The host Jimmy Petruzzi in New Zealand area and around the world. We bring you a variety of fascinating different topics, and today we have a very interesting interview. It's Hanan Tantush from Startup Angel. She's Startup Angel winner, and Julie White, AXA Small Business Champion. Welcome to the show. Great to have you on board. Okay, so could you just tell us a little bit about what you do, Hanan, what your sort of startup involved, please?
Absolutely. So I'm the founder of Intotum. It's an adaptive clothing range for people with disability that combines comfort with functionality and, most importantly, style.
And could you tell our listeners what the inspiration behind the startup was, the brand was, please?
Absolutely. So 5 years ago, my granddad unfortunately had cancer, and as a result of that, he had to have a stoma and a urostomy bag fitted. That was essential, obviously, to his quality of life, but it also did impact the way he lived his life, because he was kind of struggling in his recovery. He was finding it quite uncomfortable, and especially finding it hard to find clothing that worked with it because waistbands were rubbing against it and things. And I could see that that was impacting his recovery directly because he wasn't able to wear what he used to. And I could also see that there was a really easy solution to this in adaptive fashion. You know, clothing that is adapted to his disability and that could work comfortably with him whilst also reflecting his personal style.
That's really inspirational, and really inspirational how you sort of created that, and obviously sort of like you mentioned there, it's it's an area that basically sort of obviously was necessary. I think you found the opportunity, and no doubt it's going to help a lot of people. Yourself, Julie, can you give our listeners a bit of information about what you do and what it involves, Small Business Champion?
Yeah, delighted to talk to you about that. So yeah, at AXA, we are incredibly passionate about small businesses. It's fantastic to be here today celebrating Hanan's startup idea. And really for us, the AXA Startup Angel Initiative, where Hanan submitted her idea, has been running for 3 years now. And, we see AXA Startup Angels kind of aim and ambition is about really empowering people to build, businesses right from the get-go. It's aimed at startup founders and entrepreneurs, so it's available to people who have an idea for a business that maybe hasn't quite started up, or startups who are in that kind of first year of trading. We at AXA want to be known as that kind of insurer that gives entrepreneurs and startups the confidence to, kind of take those first steps. And I'm sure Hanan will talk more about this, but really, starting up a business takes courage, and also is probably one of the biggest steps people can take in terms of stepping out of their comfort zone. We at AXA Startup Angel have selected Hanan as one of 2 top prize-winning awards for this year. That awards the individuals with £25,000, but also provides them with mentorship and coaching. So we also provide coaching to the winners to support them on their journey, to kind of help unblock barriers, open opportunities and doors that they may be struggling to do as a startup. And the beauty of working with these mentors and coaches is that they themselves have come from a place where they've experienced some of the similar hurdles or uphill struggles that Hanan might experience as she starts out on her business venture. So we're hugely excited and really inspired by the business ideas that do come through each year, but equally, very inspired to see what Hanan's going to do with her business in the months and years to come.
Now, it's really interesting, and I can imagine, obviously, it's sort of not easy starting a business. I think what sounds really interesting about like what you've mentioned there is sort of not just the financial side, but also the coaching side as well. I think that's obviously sort of a big thing for anyone starting a business. It can be at least if you don't understand, the implications of it all, a bit of a minefield. So some sort of guidance would be amazing. And like Hanan there has obviously a really inspiring idea. I mean, how did you find it yourself, Hanan? Like you had a really inspiring idea. You recognise a lot of people obviously are struggling with sort of, adapted outfits, and I think you've got a great idea and a vision. But how did you find that it sort of helped you to sort of move things to a different level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm really excited and a bit overwhelmed, to be honest, to be one of the winners of the AXA Starter Painter competition. The funding is going to make a massive difference to my business and make me be able to grow it much faster and reach more people and help more people within the disabled community. And the mentoring as well is probably what I'm most excited for, because as a solo founder and a young woman in business, I am kind of relying on myself, my intuition, and I want to make sure that I can run my business the best way possible. So being able to access that mentoring and learn from people that have done it before is probably going to be the most impactful thing for Intotum. It's going to make sure I don't make, the same mistakes they might have done, and kind of provide that extra security when, being a startup is such a new, confusing process, really.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind me asking, Hanan, what's your vision really? I mean, what would you like to how would you like to see this sort of go for you? I mean, it's obviously a sort of great idea you have, but are you able to share what your vision is with our sort of listeners?
Absolutely. I think my main vision for Intotum would be able to sell enough clothing and, have enough of a range that everybody can pick something that reflects them. I think it's so important that you're able to establish your own style and express yourself through your clothing. And unfortunately for a lot of the disabled community, they have to pick comfort over style 9 times out of 10. So I really want it to be that you can pick your style and then, consider the things afterwards. And that's why I want Intotum to be able to encompass all of this functionality and the comfort and the easy dressing that you might require, but then be made in styles that reflect you. So that's really important to me, and I think that would be the ultimate goal for Intotum, is that you can find something that reflects you, but also to raise disability awareness. Through growing my brand, through winning things like the AXA Starter Painter competition, it creates a conversation around adaptive fashion and the need for it, and raises awareness for people that may never have ever heard the word adaptive fashion before. And so, hopefully I can use some of this money to put on my own fashion show as well, that will help raise awareness and, kind of bring the lens to adaptive fashion and the struggles that people within the disabled community are facing.
Absolutely. And if any of our listeners want to know more about sort of like the business that you have, and can you signpost them anywhere? And then is there any way they can sort of go and have a look and see more information about the clothing range?
Yes, if you want to follow Intotum on Instagram, so that's INTOTUM, and you can also find us online if you just search Intotum Fashion, and you can sign up to our newsletter to be the first to hear about anything else. If you're needing custom clothing, adaptations, you've got an event coming up you need a piece for, absolutely reach out to me. That's something I can help with, and I will be launching my actual line for sale Easter 2024.
That's amazing what you're doing there, for sure. And just a question for Julie, just in terms of the what you do as well. And I mean, like, obviously small businesses are really important, like for the economy, and but it's not always easy to sort of start. Well, at least I speak objectively. It's not always easy in business. But like, can you give us a bit more information about how, like, some of our listeners might want to know more about what you do and what the program entails and how they can look more into it?
Yeah, it's really very easy. So you can search for AXA Startup Angel. There is tons and tons of content available on the winners for this year, and you can read more about Hanan there. We'll also be following Hanan on her business journey as she goes through some of her mentoring and coaching conversations. So we will want to make sure that we, stay close to Hanan and seeing how Intotum grows and takes those next steps. The registration for AXA Startup Angel 2024 is coming soon, and you can go on again to the pages by searching AXA Startup Angel, where you can register early for next year. So, this year we already saw a 33% increase in registrations from last year into this year. So we do know every year there is a growing number of budding business ideas and entrepreneurs. So it's great to see that, and we would love to hear from anybody who's got ideas out there. So please come forward. The process to enter is really simple. It's two questions and a very, very short 60-second video, and that's obviously why we're here chatting to Hanan today in terms of her being selected as one of the winners. Alongside that, I'd also just call out that we have not just the AXA Startup Angel for identifying and supporting up and coming startups, but we also have an extensive range of business advice on another repository called AXA Business Guardian Angel. There is so much variety and content available out there if you're just starting out, if you're growing a business, running a business, managing a business. So that's also additional advice and content that we've got out there. And like I said, we recognise that it's just about having that confidence and taking those first steps. And really at AXA, we want to be not just that insurer, but we also want to be your business partner as well.
Absolutely, and just for our listeners, so you mentioned their business idea. What about existing businesses? You've mentioned there's some sort of guidance that people who've got existing businesses can have a look. But is the actual competition open for people who have an idea without an existing business, or someone who might have an existing business already?
So the application is aimed at people who are kind of in that early stage, so founders and entrepreneurs. So anyone who has an idea but hasn't yet started out, or equally someone who's already kind of in that very, very early trading window. So if you're just kind of getting out there, but you need that additional leg up, you need that additional support, you need the funding and the coaching. So someone who's in that first 12 months as well. So yeah, we're trying to catch those people at the very, very early business idea stage as well.
Absolutely. So anyone sort of listening who has or has an idea or is in the early stages and they're sort of considering obviously sort of entering the competition, and there's a lot obviously support you've mentioned there that sort of goes with it as well, so they can sort of just head to the website you've mentioned there, and they can find out more information, and the entry, it seems pretty straightforward to enter as well. So that's fantastic. So I really want to thank you for your time. I think it's really interesting and informative, to be fair. So it was great to sort of speak to you, Hanan and Julie. Really interesting and informative. So thanks again for your time, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Cheers, Jimmy.